So Alex Jones recently said that he wants to eat his neighbor.
I'll admit it. I will eat my neighbors. I'm not letting my kids die. I'm just going to be honest. My superpower is being honest. I've extrapolated this out, and I won't have to for a few years since I got food and stuff. But I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. See, my superpower is being honest. I'll eat your ass. I will. I'm combat model, optimum self-sufficiency, probably the leader. The point is have you thought about that yet? Because I'm somebody that thought I could fix this, and I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up my neighbor, how I'm going to haul him up by a chain and chop his ass up? I'll do it. My children aren't going hungry. I will eat your ass. And that's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first.
He said that he wants to string his neighbor up, cook his neighbor up, and eat his neighbor's flesh. Now, imagine, and the reason why I'm laughing isn't because I think what he said was funny. I think it was very, very disgusting and demonic. But the reason why I'm laughing is because I've been warning you guys about these types of people for years now, and I've been telling you that these types of people are freaking psychopaths. These types of people who are like, oh, I'm a libertarian, I'm fighting against the tyrants, and the tyrant is like, it's not Hitler or Stalin or, you know, the Khmer Rouge or the Viet Cong or the Jacobins. It's like, you know, Barack Obama or something like that. And they're like, the tyrants, that's why you have to follow me. And the reality is that if we were under the reign of terror of Alex Jones, we would be begging for Obama. If we were under the full reign of Alex Jones, we would be begging for the globalists, because he's always talking about the globalists, the evil globalists. Hillary Clinton is satanic, and we were fighting against green goblins underneath the earth, satanic demons. They're starving the American people. Last night, I gotta get the voice right. Last night, I went to Luby's, and well, no, it wasn't Luby's, it was Bill Miller's. I went to Bill Miller's last night, and I sold this. I saw these old ladies, and they couldn't even buy food. Even though they were in a restaurant, if they were really starving, they could have just gone to the grocery store. But they were in a restaurant but just so happened they were starving. And, it's amazing that the globalists do. They want to starve our poor Americans. See, the elderly aren't even spared. They're not even spared, But he's always going off in this very verbose and very overly dramatic way about how he's fighting the globalists, and I will not take it. I will fight against the globalists. And it's just it's such a show. It's such bullshit. It's a huge show, but people really fall for it. They really think, oh, this guy, he's fighting for liberty. He's fighting for our liberty. But the people who are always screaming about liberty and fighting against tyranny, these people tend to be the biggest tyrants of them all. This is one thing that I've noticed reading about numerous historical situations where you have the established government that is corrupt, as all governments are, but people are living their lives for the most part. You just don't talk crap about the government and you'll be fine, like Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi. And then you have the people who come along and they're like, this guy's a tyrant and this is a regime and this is evil. We have to just have a revolution. Then there's a revolution, and then what ends up next is a hell of a lot more horrifying than whatever they had before, whatever they overthrew. And we saw this in Libya. You had the Libyan expats living in Washington, D.C., and they were organizing and funding rallies in the United States against the regime of Gaddafi evil, against the regime. And then the regime is overthrown, and before you know it, people are in cages and being sold into slavery, and people are being gutted for their organs for the illegal organs trafficking industry in the criminal underground, where your liver will end up in either Germany, Turkey, or Saudi Arabia. This is the reality. And I'm not laughing because I think that these types of things are funny. These types of things are horrific. I'm laughing because for years I have been warning you people about these types of, for lack of better words, scaremongers, fanatics, Jacobins, and you guys think, oh, they're for liberty. They're for liberty. We saw this sort of thing in the French Revolution, you know. The King Louis is so evil. He is the evil tyrant. He's evil. And then these dumb French people are like, oh yes, Robespierre would be our hero. Then they support the revolution, and before you know it, some lady is having her heart literally carved out of her chest and cannibalized. And yes, things like this did happen during the Reign of Terror. And so, of course, you're going to have the Alex Jones fanboys, the Alex Jones fanatics, really, coming out and saying, well, this was a joke, and apparently you didn't really get the joke. For one thing, there's nothing funny about cannibalism. He talked about, you know, cooking his neighbor and flailing him, skinning his flesh out and eating his flesh. There's nothing funny about that. And if you think that is funny, I have to ask the question, in whose sick and twisted mind is this type of thing ever a joke? They are film directors who make movies that have zero plot. Zero. No plot. The entire movie is about sadism and cannibalism and murder. And yes, there are films like this. They're not very popular, at least not yet. But you do have films like this. For one, there was one movie that came out. I forgot the name of it. But it was directed by some scumbag. I think his name is like Von Trier's or something. But he made this movie about a serial killer that murders people. That's literally what this movie is about a guy who murders people. The entire movie is about a guy who just murders people. That's it. There's no good versus evil. There's no bad guy versus good guy. There's no antagonist versus protagonist. There's none of that. There's no structured plot. There's no drama. There is nothing. It's just about a guy who murders innocent people. These aren't even bad people that he's killing. Like, I would understand I would at least have some kind of understanding if the movie was about some vigilante who wants to take out some evil drug dealers or something like that. But no, this is about a guy who literally murders children. Like, that's what this movie was about. A guy who murders children, murders the mom, kills random people. It's absolutely horrific. Now, I don't mind some violence in a movie. I mean, one of my favorite films is Saving Private Ryan, and that movie has a lot of violence in it. But the movie is about how you have American soldiers trying to fight against fascists while they're trying to rescue a fellow soldier. And one of my favorite films also was Braveheart, which is a very violent movie. But again, it's about a group of men who are trying to fight against an evil tyrant named Longshanks. Like, there is an actual plot, there's a structure, there's purpose for the violence. In this film, there is absolutely zero purpose. It's not funny, it's just disgusting, and it's depressing. Now, the people who would criticize such a film and say this movie is disgusting, as I would say, the filmmakers and the critics who love these types of movies, they will argue and say, well, apparently you really don't understand the underlying sarcasm and parody and just the overall humor of the film, because apparently you are of an inferior intellectual capacity that just cannot fully comprehend such an amazing demonstration of cinematography and artwork. The people who say that Alex Jones was just joking are literally no different than those people who say that you don't understand the amazing artistic genius of a film about cannibalism and murder. Imagine if Hillary Clinton said this sort of thing. Imagine if Hillary Clinton sat there and, she was holding her Starbucks cup. She was holding the new chai tea at Starbucks, and she was like, I really just want to eat my neighbor and, cook him up and eat his flesh, It was just a joke. It was just a joke, guys, Don't you understand humor? Don't you understand nuance? Do you really think Alex Jones and his followers would be like, oh, it was just a joke. Really funny, Hillary. Yeah, really funny, Mrs. Rodham Clinton. No, Alex Jones would be like, this is Linda Blair, people. This is Hitlery, rotten Clinton. We're about to get this demon-possessed cannibal Illuminati blood-drinking magic cake bacon lady, demon-possessed Linda Blair woman as president, and I'm not gonna stand for it. In whose sick and twisted mind is this type of thing ever funny? What Alex Jones said really revealed his own character. what Alex Jones said really revealed how sick he is. And you can look at this man's eyes and you can see how demonic he is. He truly is evil. Every single year that goes by, Alex Jones looks more and more demonically possessed. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. He looks absolutely unhinged and he is sick. But, you know, let this whole thing be at least a lesson to you people. Those types of people who scream tyranny all the time, they tend to be the worst of all tyrants. They tend to be the people who get supported by the masses, and then when they do the revolution, the masses who supported the revolution, they want to get the hell out of there, and they end up being refugees because they want to flee the horror that they helped create. We saw this in Syria, we saw this in Libya, we saw this in Egypt. Like, this was, this is such a common symptom of the herd supporting a revolution that they really do not understand. It's a herd that supports rebels who they do not fully understand. And I think that a lot of people who really like listening to Alex Jones and those like him, they really don't understand quite well what type of people they're listening to, or they're just as sick as Alex Jones and they really do like that sort of thing. And I think that there is a substantial amount of people like that in this ideological sphere. But the people who are always like liberty and liberty for all, and they run some blog, liberty for and justice for all.org, Americans for freedom.com, Americans for the Constitution.org. Like, a lot of these people are psychos. They use religion and Christian principle to cover up their own psychopathic personalities, their own evil agendas of fascism, or in the case of Alex Jones, just outright cannibalism. They use principles to cover up their sinister character, and the more and more you study these types of people, the more you see this. I saw this with Glenn Beck. I saw this with the Duggars. I saw this with people like, even like Donald Trump. He claimed the Bible and this and that, but Donald Trump, I think, is a very twisted individual. Why else would he retweet some video by some crazy British nationalist group called Britain First and say, oh, look at these wonderful patriots? Why else would he say, yeah, I have to declare a national emergency because coronavirus is a serious problem, but then he says, liberate Minnesota, and it's like, wait a second, it's an obvious, it's an obvious contradiction. But anyway, let this be a lesson on how these types of people truly are evil and how they use religion and moral principle to cover up their own evil designs. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.